I'm not a sales leader, I'm an operator. And that's what makes me very different. I've been a sales leader, a COO. I've run RevOps and product and finance, right? So now I have a very different approach to the way that I think about total go-to-market. I truly, deep down, believe that you are a lion or a zebra, like through and through. Either you love the thrill of the kill and release, or you love to build relationships over time and manage them. When you combine that hunter and farmer role into one, I believe you lose the best of one side of the coin or the other. People fight with me on this one is they're like, no, I can do both. And I'm like, cool, that's not what I said. I bet you that you are better at one over the other. And when you are better at one thing, you want to do more of that thing. So the other side will suffer.
You're listening to the Revenue Vault, the show for sales leaders who architect unstoppable revenue engines. I'm Marcus Chan, CEO of Bentley Consulting, and I'm obsessed with helping CROs, VPs, and GTM professionals engineer performance at scale. Today, we skip the theory and dive straight into the tactical playbook of leaders who consistently exceed quota. If you're ready to build a bulletproof systems that deliver pipeline velocity and predictable results, you're in the right place. Our guest today is Stephanie Valenti, CRO of Bill.com, a $1.5 billion a year fintech powerhouse. Now, Stephanie isn't your typical sales leader. She's what she calls an operator who's run everything from marketing to RevOps to finance. At Bill.com, she manages complex revenue motions, including trials, direct sales, and channel partnerships while leading over 200 reps across multiple segments. Now, here's what makes Stephanie dangerous. She conducted over 200 one-on-ones in 15 minutes each when she started at Bill.com and then used that intel to completely rebuild their go-to-market foundation. Her approach? Stop treating sales like an art and start treating like an engineering problem. In this episode, we dissect her controversial take on why you're either a lion or zebra in sales and why you can't be both, her systematic approach to diagnosing performance issues using data before people, and the exact change management framework she uses to roll out new processes without the typical flavor of the month failures. Plus, she reveals the one metric she obsesses over that most leaders completely ignore and how it's completely transformed her team's results. Ready to think like an operator instead of just another sales leader? Let's build. So, Stephanie, what makes your approach to sales leadership different from others you think you've worked with or observed in the past?
Oh, it's such a big question, right? I think the word sales leadership encompasses so many things. If I was asked this question, say 10 years ago, I would have a totally different answer. But today, what I would say is I'm not a sales leader, I'm an operator. And that's what makes me very different, right? I've been a sales leader. I've been a COO and run the other side of departments. I've run RevOps and product and finance, right? And so now I have a very different approach to the way that I think about total go-to-market. I do believe and talk about it all the time is go-to-market as a whole and selling as a whole is everyone's responsibility, not just the sales leader. And so that's why I do think taking that operator approach is a differentiator.
You know, I love that so much. And in the book Made by America, I think Made by America, it's about Sam Altman, not Sam Altman, it's about the Walmart, Sam Walton, the Walmart.
Yeah.
And he talks about there's like I-shaped people, like T-shaped. I-shaped, like you're really good at one function, like sales. T-shaped is like you are really a one function, but you understand the other departments so much better.
Yeah.
And the T's are like the best recruits, the best people to work with and all those jazz, because you see it like a different scope. So because of that, how have you seen that way of thinking where you have the operator mindset impact like some of the sales teams and what was some of their reaction? Because it's always interesting to see that perspective.
Yeah. Again, like in my most recent role, so right now I'm at Bill.com. Sometimes you have to say the .com afterwards, but that's a large organization, right? Like, so I've done the PE stuff. I'm now with a large organization. And in this organization, having that operator mindset is it was very different for the sales organization. They had not had an operator in that role. And I think it's rare across public companies in general. Right? Generally, you grow up in a public company, you stay in your practice, you stay in your department, you grow. And I had come from smaller companies and come in. And so I think that alone was very different. It's like, whoa, you know how to speak marketing's language. Oh, wait, Like you're thinking about RevOps and scale and like things in a very different way than maybe like leaders in the past were, right? So I'm not coming in and saying, only focusing on the art of the deal or your conversion rate or, right? I'm thinking bigger and trying to move us forward. One of the first things I always do is go across the sales organization and say in one-on-ones. So like in this role, it was at 200 one-on-ones for 15 minutes. And it was like, if you have a magic wand and you could change one thing, what would it be? And consolidating that information to make their job better, right? And then applying that into operating principles was a huge move in both change management, but also again, in that operator mindset, opposed to just send me your best deal, right? Or send me your one deal that you won that you're proud of. There's some of that, but how do I help them really operate like a scalable machine is generally my go. I'd say like the bigger impact of that was with my cross-functional partners who were not used to having a partner that could dig into their business, right? Like because I had an opportunity to run marketing, I can not only ask the right questions, but also offer ideas and suggestions on way that we can partner better and use their language, not mine, not that sales language. And so that was a big difference as well.
I can see why I like you so much because we think very similarly. It's I ran full P&Ls for forever. So
Yeah.
going into orgs and actually full understand other departments and having full P&L responsibility where my comp plan's tied to it. And I'm looking at a whole bigger picture of everything. And I'm not just trying to get a deal done. I'm trying to make sure it's going to win across the whole sphere.
Yeah.
I have found that when you're able to talk to other departments, you gain a lot of trust, right? Because they're like, oh, this
Absolutely.
person gets me. And I'm really curious for you. Obviously, you did some of these other roles, which I think is amazing. For some of those other CROs or sales VPs who've only stayed in that sales realm, how do you think they could improve that level of business acumen and operational thinking, even inside the scope of their job?
So I teach CROs. I have all of these classes, right, in different communities. And I talk about this all the time. It goes back to the first thing I said of revenue's a team sport. But in order to make it a team sport, it's actually up to the CRO to position it to be so, right? If the CRO, let's even say forecasting, for example, if the CEO comes to the CRO and says, hey, like how much money do you need in headcount dollars, in budget to be able to hit your goal? And they say, oh, well, I need this much heads. And they go in their hole and they do a sales capacity model and they do what they need over at their desk and then they just present it. Well, guess who's responsible for the number, right? The CRO. If instead you get the entire executive team together, you show what a bottoms up model from marketing and product and pull all those data pieces together and you say, guys, if we do nothing, here's what's going to happen. Now, how we as a team come together to really solve this problem, to really grow the way we want to grow, let's start looking at each individual department on what our contribution is to this number. And surprisingly, like it's HR, it's product, it's every department has a hand. And so one of the number one things I could say is like involve others and prompt others to be involved in your business. And that's a wonderful way to learn, but also get like accountability from your peers so that it's not all sitting on your shoulders. The other piece is like, as a sales leader, you should be good at this already. Curiosity is king in sales, but it's also king of the CRO. And so anytime someone says something or you don't understand, ask questions. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to wear the ego thing on your shoulder. Say, hey, I've never been exposed to this before. Like, why do we do this? How do we do it? Can you share why you think this is going to work? And people love talking about their business and what they're doing. So lots of questions work as well.
I love that so much, right? Because it's, if you want to actually influence change, you have to get people involved. Instead of a top-down approach, you're getting other department heads, other leaders, executive department heads into the conversation so they have more buy-in. And I love that. And when I think about today, especially in today's selling time, for a lot of like sellers and sales leaders, we know they have to sell to like, not usually other salespeople, to like operators, CFOs, CEOs, C-level execs, and that's like not their language. And I have found personally, because I was an operator, I was able to help teach them and guide them, the reps, to sell it like a business person versus just another rep.
Yes.
How are you doing that? Because you've changed a couple different orgs. How are you doing that same thing to help get the reps ready so they can have these business conversations and improve their financial act?
Gosh, it's a good question. And especially in the role I'm in today, I mean, we're selling to the financial office. They don't want fluff in the financial office. When I used to sell more into the marketing group, you could do a lot of that upfront relationship building and right, more of the candor. And they're used to more of that sales, like pretty pitch decks and stuff. Finance office, no, like they don't want that. And so really making sure that we're teaching and educating our team on product, right? First and foremost, if you're selling a financial automation software, you better believe you know that product inside and out. So we have a lot of product training, a lot of focus on understanding the solutions and the problems that we're solving. So that's a big one. But then basic financial acumen, it's something I am a big proponent. If you do follow me on LinkedIn, like I am not someone that will only hire from industry. Myself, like have a crazy background. And I'm in fintech, and there is nothing on my resume that would have said that I should be here. And so, but we do interview for business acumen. And that is something that you can teach over time. But if you come in with strong business acumen and understanding, that is truly a differentiator. So those are just a couple things that we're doing.
Love that. And it's so key, right? Because many reps don't have financial acumen, especially if they only sold to maybe certain personas, right?
Yeah.
What are maybe some ways you've found valuable or helpful in your interview process to help kind of vet somebody out to see if they have financial acumen?
Interviewing is my absolute favorite thing because I don't get to sell that much anymore, right? I get customer facing for feedback and issues and stuff, but I don't get to sell. And so I love interviewing. It's my one opportunity to get my discovery hat on, my sales hat on, and ask a whole lot of questions. And so for me, really diving in and asking questions about basic things in life can really, really share like transparently where people at are on their acumen and their communication. So for example, I can say, hey, talk to me about college. Like when you were in college, what was your experience? And they don't know what I'm trying to find or dig for. So it's a really like authentic conversation. When in reality, what I'm trying to get to is like, what did your day look like? Did you ever run out of like your feed card? Did you ever have to ask mom and dad for extra money? Like, what did that look like? Did you have to create a budget? Now, there are a lot of ways I've asked that question, but that's an example of like just a fun way you can start to get information from people without asking the question directly.
I love that so much because it's not like those silly questions where it's like, hey, how many jelly beans are in the world? Like a thought process behind it because you want to get to the point of like, hey, how do you actually manage your own personal finances?
Yeah.
Because if you already think that way, it's obviously far easier, whether or not they have strong P&L acumen, cash flow acumen, whether they can read a 10K report or earnings transcript, or income statement, it doesn't really matter as much. If they already think that way, you can probably teach them other things if you need to. So I love that, and I think that's really valuable, especially from a mind of an operator like this way. What's maybe one belief you hold about leading a sales org that you think some might disagree with?
Oh gosh, there are so many. I get pushback on all of the classes. I like, this is my opinion and all of the reasons in the messaging why this or that is not the right opinion. I think there are two that like really stand out. The first one is I truly deep down believe that you are a lion or a zebra, like through and through. And what I mean by that is either you love the thrill of a kill and release, or you love to build relationships over time and manage them. And you're able to see like more of that farm, right? And so when you combine that hunter and farmer role into one, where you're not only acquiring, closing, and then managing long-term, I believe you lose the best of one side of the coin or the other. So I stand by that. I've done both. And every time I go back to splitting those roles into two.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to have that one single role for, I agree. It's like, it's a different way of thinking, their instincts, their operating pattern, their level of urgency, their level of like aggression, I mean, there's some people who are just, frankly, they're wired to be hunters, to be that lion. Like, doesn't matter. You'll get it and they'll find a way. Versus some other people you put in the wrong role, And it's interesting that you bring it up because I'm sure you've seen this too, where you might have someone that's an amazing, like they're a great person, but they're not performing that role. And then you
Yeah,
just kind of shift them into maybe like a zebra role, if you will. And they're like the best rep ever because they're just
I
like,
know.
you know,
I know. So the reason people fight with me on this one is they're like, no, I can do both. And I'm like, cool, that's not what I said, right? It's not that you cannot do both. It's that I bet you that you are better at one over the other. And when you are better at one thing, guess what? You want to do more of that thing. So the other side will suffer, right? Marcus, are you a hunter or a farmer? Are you a lion or a zebra?
yeah, I'm a lion.
Oh,
I
me
had
too, through and through.
through. I never thought I was, and then I remember like I had to take some tests where they're like, yeah, I think I can do both.
We can.
You know, but they're like, yeah, you're pretty intense. You're definitely a hunter, you know, which
Yeah.
it suddenly made sense because like, you know, I've always seen hunters or the lions to be creators.
Yes.
They make something from nothing, which I think
Yes.
also makes them naturally easy to go to entrepreneurship and to do their own thing
For sure. Yeah.
because they're used to like, give me ground zero, baby. Let's go build. You know, like it's like doesn't matter. You know, like don't
You
keep me
mean we
guard.
like
I
to
don't need
torture ourselves? Yeah, that's
so yeah, we're actually a little bit insane too. That's the other part too. We don't stop. We don't stop. You know. So
never.
yeah, it drives
That's
my wife
awesome.
crazy, but it all worked out.
That's so good. So good.
Now going into like, you know, you're bringing people in, right? So obviously, you know, you love the hiring piece, and I'm curious, so people have understanding, especially at Bill, what's maybe the current revenue motion from like lead to close deal?
Yeah. Cool. So I run two different partners and channel motions as well as a direct motion. For simplicity, I'm just going to share the direct one because it gets a little bit messy on the other sides. But
You mean
yeah, in our direct business, we have two motions, right? We have our trial business where people are coming to the website, they're trying out a trial, and maybe they got to the website from an ad, right? Or a social, instance or an event, but they get onto that website and they say, I want to enter into a trial. So those leads then get sent into our direct team based on employee count. So we have a small SMB team, a mid-market team, and a growth team. And so those are segmented. And then in the trial, the rep's responsibility is to immediately, as fast as possible, very fast speed to lead, respond into that trial and say, I've noticed that you're interested, right, in Bill, et cetera, really beautiful sequence. But can't wait to jump in and help and better understand your needs. And then they're responsible for doing some discovery, supporting them in that discovery to bring them over to some pricing, which in a trial you already have the opportunity to see. And then to, if needed, really send them over to our implementation team to go ahead and get them started. For more complex deals, we have sales consultants that will help and get the technical pieces complete. But after that, after they're closed, they go over to a post-sales team. And in between there, we also have the opportunity to cross-sell them on different products throughout the. So that is the trial motion. The non-trial motion is not also dissimilar, but they're signing up maybe for a demo or attended an event. And then lastly, we do have ABM and outbound as a supplement as well. And so those are obviously, leads in the pipeline moving through SQL to SQO and not entering into that MQL stage.
I love it because you also have many motions going at the same time. And
Yes.
I'm really curious from an operator perspective. It's always like, what's cool is you've worn those different hats. So for
Yeah.
you, when you look at the whole bigger picture, where do you see maybe the most consistent drop off across the board? I'm sure it might be different by team, but kind of overall, what's kind of the common themes you see? Like, oh, this is where we're kind of drop. There's some friction at this stage right here.
Yeah. I would say two things. I'd say very top of funnel, I think everyone's experiencing paid search change, right? So paid search used to just be an unbelievable channel for us. And that volume is not necessarily going away, it's changing. And so from a full stage and a high level perspective, it's what are different and unique ways that we can fill top of funnel and still capture our ICP, but not through to the traditional search motions. From a sales perspective, like when it actually gets into funnel, it is very different per team because they're all in different stages, entry level, right? High level. I would say like for something different in our mid-market team, generally some of the holdup there is either legal, right?
Mhm.
So
Yep.
contracts and getting put into long-term contracts, especially in this economic, like unstable market,
Yeah.
sometimes some hesitation. So there is definitely sometimes like deal push that happens in that funnel. I would say more on the smaller business side, anything that happens from stage to stage and stage, if anything slows, goes wrong, like dies out, it's always because discovery wasn't done the way it needed to be done. Always.
Yeah.
No matter what. Always.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny, right? Where so many leaders kind of push that top of the funnel, but we take a look at overall, like the win rates or low. It's like, well, realistically, majority of the time, discovery is just done poorly at any segment. It's like
Yep.
almost too
Yep.
transactional, once you surface level, like it's just kind of
Yep.
checking the box and excited to get to the demo, right?
Yeah.
Very, very
Yeah.
common.
Yeah. That
You,
discovery is won or lost, right? In a deal. It's
oh,
I said it a little wrong probably, but I mean, that is true, tied and true for every industry, no matter the sales team.
that's right.
You're not good at discovery. You're not winning anything.
Yeah, 100% right.
Yeah.
When you look at like getting repeatable outcomes, what are maybe some plays or processes you see to be most effective at creating the repeatable outcomes?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of areas that you need repeatable outcomes. I would say if we start at the very, very beginning, it's hiring people that want to follow process. And that's hard sometimes when you're hiring in sales because that rogue person is really good. That rogue person,
I'm a unicorn.
they are really good. And like you want them, like you're like, oh no, I don't care. They're going to be a bull in a china shop. They're going to do whatever they want. I don't care and I want them. But that is not repeatable.
That's right.
And so I think it does start in the interview process of like, are you choosing the right people on your team that are open to, if you follow A, B, and C, you will be successful. So that's one piece. I'd say the second piece is investing the time to actually come up with a robust and simple process. And using robust and simple together in the same sentence doesn't always work. It's like an oxymoron, but it is actually possible. And then continually communicating on a weekly, monthly basis, not just at the manager, the rep level, the director level. I need to talk about it. I need to talk about this is how we win, as well as everyone else throughout the org. That's how we get something that's repeatable. If you don't talk about it a lot and you say it one time and you just expect everyone to absorb and listen, it goes away.
You're so right. I mean, I was just talking to a team, to a CRO, and it's interesting because, they've tried past training initiatives, right? And it becomes like a flavor of the month. They hire a big company to come in, implement Medic or something else. They're excited for 2 months. It peters off. They hire someone else, and there's been like tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes even hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? For the flavor of the week, where it's a manager and leadership adoption that really helps drive it even beyond that situation. So what are maybe some ways you've seen to be valuable as part of like a best practice or strategy so it's consistently top of mind, so the implementation continues as a journey versus an event?
Yeah, good question. And so you're specifically talking about like training, right? Actual like training and enablement.
It could be training, it could be anything, right? So let's say, for example, you roll a brand new, simple but robust process to the team.
Yeah.
Team says sounds great. Maybe you do it as your SKO, whatever. And now what happens next? How do you keep that wheel going, keep the team going down the same path still?
Yeah. It's the same thing I teach in change management and then I talk about in change management. It is all about so you can say, we're going to roll this out, right? We're going to roll out ABC. This is how we came to the conclusion. Here are our 5 W's. But then after that all hands meeting, it's going in and doing small team meetings, making sure that there are no questions, going into a deeper level of detail. Then it's doing one-on-ones, being like, how do you feel about this? Do you think you can adopt it? It's identifying champions, people that are going to rally for you, people that are going to sell it for you so that you don't have to sell it as a leader. And then it's continuing to do that over and over and over again. And then it's giving them some sort of scorecard or repeatable measure where we can actually hold people accountable to this on an ongoing basis. Otherwise, it goes away. And it needs to be easy. So if it's manual, forget it. No one's going to do it. We've got too much and it all ends up being about the revenue. So it's like making things easy, communicating often. I also, anytime I roll something out or change something, I tell my teams, you're allowed to feel the way you feel. Like if you don't like this, cool. Like let me know, but let me know what you don't like about it so that we can work together to get you where you need to be. And I think that piece, like people will always say like, this is what we're doing, get on board or don't. And for me, it's like, no, like people feel certain ways, like we're human. You're not going to tell somebody not to feel something.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think there's a couple key points, and hopefully other execs are listening carefully about this, right? Because when you're rolling type of change management now, right, there's a couple things you did very, very well, which is number one, which is you got locker room leaders involved, which are going to help with the rollout. So you bring champions in early as part of that role. And I found that to be so critical because you get them involved, get their feedback, they have buy-in. So they're going to be your ears to the ground, helping handle objections.
Yes.
Then you have the overall bigger rollout, but then you're constantly seeking feedback, but then you create systems in place and also like easy scorecards to help with managing and engaging that performance ongoing. So it's not just a flavor of the week. It actually becomes a transformation over time. I think it's so vital. Yeah, I think that was very, very well explained. When you look at your overall org, what's maybe one challenge you see with them right now? If it doesn't get like fixed or figured out next year, like I'll be kicking myself in the next like 12 months.
Goodness. There's actually a lot. Like Bill has been around for a long time. Bill has been around a long time, but we had a large acquisition. We're blending systems, Marcus. So we like have, all of these new systems integrating, blending systems, 2 ERPs came together, 2 CRMs, like it's a lot. So you're hearing a lot of system stuff from me. Yeah. I am a huge believer that systems should be in place to make sales teams efficient, not for reporting and documentation. And so if I could fix one thing today that I know if we don't fix by the end of the year, I'll be kicking myself, it would absolutely be reducing the steps that a sales rep needs to go through to work a deal in their system. So not customer facing, but in the system. We have unfortunately, there are too many steps right now, which creates inefficiencies, and I need rep efficiency.
So when you say steps, can you define a little more? Because is it like too many CRM steps, too many internal partners they have to talk to make a deal happen?
Yeah, I would say CRM steps. Okay. They have, too many tabs open at the top. So they've got their Salesforce, their outreach, their Scratchpad, their et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Their Zoom info, their LinkedIn Navigator. I mean, we've got all the tools, right? Yeah. And they're just all there. And there's too many places for the reps to work. So I would say that internal systems, sure. Like we sell a complex product. We're like a bank, Marcus, really. Like we manage our own payment rails. So there are a lot of things that go in to closing a deal, from on our card payments, like approvals, credit lines, right? And so there are always areas of opportunity to streamline those processes.
Oh yeah, especially when you're doing the credit and approvals and you have that's complex. I think I find really interesting, especially the tech piece, right? Where you have like a million tabs open, right? I mean, how many times have we seen you're like, oh God, like the reps shares a screen, all the tabs like this, they're so tiny you can't even see them or what's inside there. And we ran the same issue personally in my own company. So we actually ended up consolidating and like got rid of all this tech bloat. So now we have like one tool that does a lot of stuff. So now we have like less tabs. So maybe you might have only 2-3 tabs now. Have you figured out what type of solution or solve to kind of to eliminate that?
It's in the works, right? Yeah. But I think the problem is there are even more tools out there now with AI coming out, and we've got to try to stay on the precipice of what's happening. And so there's actually more being added. I do think over the next 12 months, like there will have to be, and this is why it was my choice, like there's got to be something to make the team more efficient, and more efficient is truly, in my opinion, giving them less to do in the systems and more talk time, right? And talk time comes through less administrative burden. So I think that it's got to be on the roadmap. It's coming, but I don't have the answer yet. I don't know what the best course of action is.
I mean, I was just talking to a sales VP last week, and they're like, I think Salesforce says the average rep spends only 30% of their time selling, which is kind of crazy, right?
I believe.
And they were like, I think I was like 20%. They were not confident even at 30. I'm like, that's kind of wild, So when you have a rep or a team who's behind their number, how do you determine at your level, is it a people issue? Is it a process issue? Is it a system issue? How do you determine that? How do you diagnose it personally?
Yeah. Gosh, I think that's like at least 25% of my job is understanding how to diagnose, issues within a department, within a specific team, etc., I, in the past, would always go to people because it was my natural self. So when I was a young leader, I would immediately say, oh, it's gotta be a leadership problem or a management problem. Let me go dive into people and assess talent. As I've grown as a leader, I actually flipped it because my natural tendency is people. I went ahead and I always start with the data. So I go ahead and deep dive and really look for inconsistencies or variability in conversion. I look at top of funnel and the volume coming in. I dive into quality of conversion from stage to stage in the funnel. And then I also will look at, we use Gong, another technology for you. But I'm able to dive in and even like dissect, like, what am I hearing in keywords? Are we not hearing asking? Are we not hearing next steps? So starting with anything and everything quantitative first.
Love it.
Then I will go ahead. And if I'm not seeing anything there and I'm like, gosh, everything seems the same between teams, but this one team is struggling, then I will go dive into some of that qualitative. Do we have a cultural issue, right? Is there a training gap? Is there a management gap? Is there a hiring gap, right? Are we hiring the wrong people on this team? Do we need to tweak something? So that's generally my order of operations.
I love it. I think it's, again, from an operator perspective, it's how you think a little differently, right? I think a lot of times most leaders in your shoes are like, it's a rep problem, it's a manager problem, let's get right into it. It's probably because of this. And it's funny because I made that mistake personally. I'm like, hey, I can solve it. And then, so now I have a very similar process, but I call it the MPP. I look mirror. I look in the mirror first. Is it me? Am I send the team right? Did I get them down? The right tools, resources, whatever, right? Then the process. Okay, I'm looking at the data, looking at everything else, and then I look at the person. You know, like
I like that. Yeah.
Sometimes it's in the mirror. It's like I just didn't set them up for success. That's for sure. That's a real thing, you know. So, now let's just say, for example, if you were tasked, by the CEO says, "Hey, listen, Stephanie, I want you to double revenue in the next 12 months, but we're not going to increase headcount at all. Okay, exact same headcount, but I want you to double revenue."
Yep.
What would you need to change, or what lever would you pull first to drive towards that?
Yeah, I'm going to pretend, because you didn't give me very many guardrails. I'm going to pretend you didn't have a channel or a partnership motion.
Sure. Yeah.
And so one of the first things I would do is look for something that would feed the team higher converting leads and higher on, like, we call ARPU or VAS, or, but your contract value, right? Your ACV or TPV. That would probably be my first thing. Is I don't want to raise each individual's reps quota and just expect them to do more. I would prefer to find something of higher value at the top that simply converts at a higher level to be able to grab that growth. Now, I don't know if that would double. We're a $1.5 billion company, so I don't think just doing a channel would get us there. But that would be one piece that I would push into. The other thing is just other growth levers and growth strategies. And then lastly, I would probably dive into monetization, right? Like, where are we discounting too much here? Are we not charging for that? Do we have the right price packages for the right customers? Is there a verticalization opportunity from a pricing and packaging perspective? So I would probably do that.
I love that. Especially, both are fantastic, right? You're focusing on higher leverage leads to increase the overall deal size, and then also you're protecting margin, if you will, by making sure like you actually have profitable growth, because everyone can grow without. This is what I love operators for that reason. It's like, how can we increase the margin? Actually, is it in onboarding costs that we're waiving? Are we waiving part of the fees? Can we increase the contract term overall? Can we, if we're negotiating anything, how else can we increase the overall margin of the deal? I love that. Now, I think a key piece is everyone's seeing CAC go up as across the board. We're seeing like cost per lead go up. It's hard to get qualified leads. If you had to get more of these higher qualified leads, how would you go about it? How would you go about it, do you think, if that was the core task?
It's actually something that I did quite a bit last year within the channel. In the channel business I lead, it's quite a large group, but we call it the accounting channel here at Bell. And within that team, we needed to find unique ways to engage and get higher quality leads, but also engage in a way like it's a channel, right? So you have to build partnerships. It's not a mass opportunity. It's very, very targeted. And so one of the things is that we did that really worked well last year was small, intimate roundtables, but they included current customers and prospects in local markets. So I brought some of my field sales back, Marcus, and we worked both locally, going into offices, doing some swag, doing some fun, but we also allowed our existing customers to sell our prospect base on our behalf. The biggest difference on these dinners and these events is, I don't know about you, but like when I go to some of these dinners I get invited to, I feel like I'm getting held hostage for a steak. And right, like they're going to sell me like the entire time. Like, I can buy my own steak. Please don't sit here and sell me. The dinners I love are when I'm collaborating with like-minded people, learning things from them. And then just at the end, they say, we hosted this, like we're doing this so that you can build a community, right? And learn from each other, and then let people talk, always have super users in the room. So we did do that. It was absolutely phenomenal. We had great success. And because of that, we're really spreading it out throughout the rest of the orgs in the company.
I love that so much, right? Because you don't see that as often, especially in the tech space, because everyone's so used to working off a laptop, right? You and I came from the field sales world where we actually know like that was critical, right? To be able to create these experiences that didn't feel salesy,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much power to the live events of other execs in the same room, which gives them access to people just like them, which sometimes that's what they want.
That's right. That's right.
I absolutely love that. Now we're going to pivot a little bit, right? For you, what's maybe one sales metric that you obsess about that you think most leaders just overlook?
One thing I obsess over, I don't know if it'd be different than others. I mean, one that I look at a lot that's maybe not relevant for all organizations is attach rate, like how many orgs are coming in with a single contract. So not every company has that as a metric, but that's something that I look at a lot. The other thing,
what's that mean specifically?
Yeah. So like multi-location, right?
Yeah.
Are we selling an individual headquarters and no additional locations that come with it? Or are we truly grabbing the entire organization in all its locations, like almost saturation of the org? So that's something I look at a lot. I would also say I manage post-sales as well. And in post-sales, something that's important to me is book coverage. It's really easy to get caught up in your customers that continue to give and need. And it's very hard to be proactive to hit your entire book with the same intentionality. So that's also something I obsess over quite a bit is, did you talk to everyone in your book in the last 6 weeks, right? Do you have a relationship with everybody? And, you never know when that relationship turns into more. So that's another one. And then lastly, in an inbound motion, when you have trial and non-trial leads coming in, I really dive deep into leads per day per rep and conversion by rep. So even at my level, like I want to see, is there gross difference between this subset of reps and this subset of reps, given that they got the same amount of leads, why are they converting at such a drastic different rate? That shows me things like training, right? Or work ethic, or right? A little bit of everything there. So I like that one a lot.
I love that so much, that last one especially, because you see training challenges, but also sometimes you see the direct frontline leader. There's major gaps there because of because level conversion. You see across the whole team, it's like there is definitely a challenge across the board. Maybe it's not accountability. Maybe they're not running one-on-ones. Maybe they're not on calls with reps. Maybe they're not coaching. So you start to it starts to expose gaps where you're like, oh, this could lead to obviously bigger problems down the road too. And I love the point about even it's almost like the account penetration by the number of sites, if you will. So for instance, it's kind of like, I gotta imagine, let's just say if you sell into one Domino's, did you get the whole franchise group that maybe they own 100 Domino's?
Yes. Yeah.
All about that too. It's interesting because I used to look at that. I used to also look at the account max in terms of XMR products and services. How much penetration do we have? Because I knew if we had I think it was like 11 out 11, like at least 11 like services products line items in there, we had this. It was like we'd never lose that business. Like it was like a forever account.
Yeah. Yeah, you're totally right. I had that during my time at Staples too, right? If you had office supplies and janitorial supplies and print and promo and furniture, you were never going to lose that deal ever. You are never going to lose it.
We got you, and you're stuck with us whether you like it or not. I
Totally.
love that. So what's one tactical move that you've have borrowed or stole shamelessly from another company or leader that you still use to this day?
Ooh, gosh, that's a good question. What have I feel like everything I've done, I've stolen somewhere. Like there's a lot of reinvention. I don't know. Gosh, I would say, um, it is probably the fun and enthusiasm in my all hands meetings and the content that goes in those meetings that I had had in my first sales role. I had a leader, it was the director, and he always had so much fun integrated into those all hands meetings. There was accountability, there was staff ranked performance, there were guest speakers, right? But they were always like themed and everyone always looked forward to them because they were a good amount of fun. And I do them religiously with in all of my leadership roles since then, just they get to be at a different scale, but making sure you're always having a really fun time, but also making sure it's valuable for the people that are attending. The all hands meetings that I hate are the ones where you're just reading out and you're not engaging. And everyone you can tell is doing things on the side and it's a total waste of their time. And it's more for the speaker than it is for the attendants or attendees. I'm all about the attendees in my meetings.
I love the structure you're trying to talk through. Is there maybe one memorable one you've done where you're like, oh, I got the amazing feedback from because I did whatever?
Yeah. So I would say one of my biggest, most recent, it was a little different than just a normal all hands. It was rolling out some change, right? And in this change, I made sure that I tethered on like it's like an analogy kind of, right? So I was calling it a house, right? So this is our house. It's got a crack in the foundation. We keep changing the curtains and that's not fixing the foundation, right? And so we're in I got a bulldozer and I'm like, we're bulldozing the house and we're going to rebuild it together, right? And first we're going to start with the framing and then we're going to start with our walls. And then we're going to put up like the outside and make it pretty. And then the interior design and everything had like a different like example associated with that stage of the build. And when we finished, like the wrap up on the next meeting was like, look at our house, right? Like we built this together and this is where we live. And so I think that was well received. And so now when I do all hands meetings with that team, like we always start with the house because it's where we live.
I love that. So like, was it like, did you like physically build things? Or was it like, did you like have like, is it a deck that showed like, how'd you like, I'm trying to visualize it for people listening up.
Yeah. So we are remote. So we have some people in the office, but I've got people all across the country. So that would have been actually a really good idea, Marcus. Like I should have had everybody like build a little house kit, maybe got some Legos.
Some gingerbread houses. I don't know.
That would have actually been awesome. Fail on my part. I missed out, but it was all, it was in a deck. There were a lot of visuals and what it really would do is like the framing. So the framing of our house is for us means A, B, C, and D, right? So it means creating our segmentation the way that we wanted and listening to our business and our customers and responding to that and making that change. Like that is the framing portion of what we're building. Whereas like the team selection and team names and the fun stuff, well, that's our interior design, right? Because we're living in this house now. And so like, what bedroom do you want? And so we just like more did that together. It was very interactive, but very visual in the presentation.
Yeah, I still love it, right? Because it's like and I believe teams, they know when you're trying and when you truly care and you're making an effort to like, yes, this is serious. Yes, this is a business. Yes, we have the numbers to deliver, but like, how can we make it fun, right? How can we make it like really personalized to that, right? I'm remember doing some very similar things where it's like, I had some teams that were in person and some were like remote, like I remember like one year we had a new announcement for President's Club, right? So, for all the in-person teams, like we, on my team or my EA send out like packages to each of the ones that bullpens to set up the beach layout, the fake blow up palm tree, the sign, the glasses, the straw hat. For the people that in their remote, we send it to their houses so they could like, do the same thing, right? So on the next call, everyone can wear the funny hats. I mean, just
I
to have
love that.
fun with it, right? Yeah,
Got
it
it.
costs a little bit of money, but like when you make it fun, that's like the emotions they remember. Especially when they're having a tough day and they're thinking about maybe quitting or taking a recruiter offer. They're like,
Yeah.
I remember how Stephanie made me feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's so powerful.
I love
Amazing conversation. So much value dropped today. People wanted to learn more about you or get a hold of you. How best can they find you?
Yeah. LinkedIn is it. I don't have a webpage or anything like that. Corporate girly over here. So, but LinkedIn is the best way. If you send me an invite, I will absolutely accept. And I usually do respond to messages. So yes, please do connect with me. Look forward to hearing from all of you.
Awesome. That's a wrap on this episode of the Revenue Vault. Now, if you got value, here's your next step. Go to bentleyconsulting.com/teams, get a free performance scan of your sales org. We'll show you exactly where deals are stalling and how to fix it. And this episode gave you even one insight worth sharing. Send it to a sales leader you respect. I'm Marcus Shin. Thanks for joining us in the Vault.